Hey everyone, Max from Music Lessons 101 here today. We're going to work on open chords in this lesson and hoping that this will serve as a supplement for those of you that are following along with the beginner lessons. So I'm going to put up the chord charts and we're just going to run through your basic open chords, and that way you'll have this at your fingertips and you can go back through and reference it as needed. Okay, so basically open chords are the chords you're learning as a beginner, played down here at the end of the neck with a lot of the open strings. We're going to start off with your C chord. Now when you play this, make sure you stay on your fingertips, okay? There's your C chord, C major. The next chord is going to be your A chord. Now I've seen people play it like this or like this. The way I like to do it, and which I think is the best way to play it, is if you got to get that knuckle to flatten on your third finger and then put your second finger right below. Try to get it that way if you can, because then it's really easy to change to like an A7th or whatever. Okay, so then we're going to have your G chord, and we're going to play it like this, which we have this, the fifth and the bass here. Sometimes you've seen people play it like this too. You can do it either way, but I would encourage you to play it like this. Okay, that's your G chord. And then we have E. And then we have your D chord. Okay, so now when you're practicing these chords, try to play them like, say, for example, on the C. Notice how I'm starting my strumming from the A string on down. When you're practicing, try not to hit like a lot of beginners will end up doing this right here. So try to stay on your higher strings. I know it's hard to avoid those because you're trying to get clarity, and it's like some of them might be dead. But you want to, on each chord, try to stay on your fingertips and just go through each chord to where they're clean. And keep your fingers relaxed, which I know is hard because when you're first learning, it's hard to relax when you're trying to press down so hard. But always be aware of that. But if you stay on your fingertips, that will help a lot. And then eventually it will help you develop calluses on your fingers and finger strength. Okay, so now we're going to do a few minor chords now. So we have an A minor, which is very common. Okay, and then we have an E minor, which you learned in Horse with No Name. Okay, and then we have the D minor. Okay, and then we're back to C. Okay, so those are your basic open chords. Now let's talk about some chord switching tips. I'm just going to kind of throw out as many as I can think of here. You want to keep your fingers pretty close to the fretboard. When you do a chord change, let's say, since we just did the A minor, let's go C from A minor. Now look how when we go from C to A minor, all we have to do is move this third finger down a string. See, so you don't want to do this. This is called dive bombing. Okay, so there's no need to do that. You always want to stay close to the strings and connected. And notice how it's really fluid that way because these fingers stay down and it just rings. Now, what if I went to the F? Now look where my first finger is. And then G, I just hop this down. Now going back to the C, this is a little bit different now. We just kind of have to bring these down and hop them up. So you're always kind of thinking about finger placement, and like say if you learn a new song, always try to remember what finger you're starting with. Like you say you do like let's do A to D. This is a good one, okay? Right now, stop and go from A to D. Okay, and I'll just wait for a second here. Just give that a try. Okay, you done? Now, This is the way you should do it. A lot of people will go like this. Okay? But look at this. Now, if you watched my previous lesson, you already know this. But notice where my third finger is. If I just slide it up into the D, I can slide it back down. Okay? So you always want to connect chords like that. Let's do another one. So the reason why this G here is important to know it this way. This is played like this in a lot of songs, but not all the time. But look, if I want to go to a C add 9, which we could mention that as an open chord too. See, there's your C add 9. Now hop back up to your G. See that? Isn't that cool? Okay, let's do some that are more difficult. What if we go from C to G? Now that's what I call a dive bomb. This is kind of a tough one here. But what might help you, always slow things down. What I'm doing is I'm getting these two fingers down here first, and then I'm putting these over the top. Always be aware of the sequence you play that chord in, okay? Because you might learn it one way and the next day you might start like this and do it totally differently. So that confuses your fingers. So always try to be consistent and remember how you're doing that. And this technique here works well too, because say if you're doing a faster song, see how I can grab that first and I get a split second to get my other fingers up here. Now another thing too is it's okay to play these the strings open while you're changing. See, so you can get away with that too. A lot of guitar players do that. Probably almost all of them. I mean, because it's really too hard to go like. You know, to instantly change like that. So just keep it fluid. Okay, so let's see, what else do we have? So we have C to G, A minor to F. Let's do another one. How about G to D? Okay, this is another good one too. G to D. Okay, again, you give this a try. See if play your G chord, and then on your own, go from G to D. Okay, and you can pause the video for a second and just see what you come up with. Okay. We good? Okay, now, this is how you should do it. Here's G. Again, notice where my third finger is. It's already on the correct note. It's on the D. I'm just going to do that. See how I'm just going to pivot right off that note? Okay, so that's how you would go from G to D. And you come up with your own. And whenever you learn a new song, stop and think. By doing that, it creates that original awareness, because now you've thought about it, you've thought it through, you're just not on autopilot, okay? And then that way, when you come back, make sure you do it the same way. That way your fingers get trained, okay? Because your fingers, they rely mostly on muscle memory. Your brain is telling your fingers what to do. Say you come back tomorrow after practicing a song and you didn't create that original awareness of how you were changing, you might use different fingers. Well, this makes it so much harder for your fingers to develop that muscle memory. So you want to be really consistent with how you do these chord changes when you learn a song. So really make that a point. It may seem a little more work at first, but you're going to really connect, and you're always going to develop this habit now of seeing ways to connect your chords, okay? It's really fun, and you'll start seeing little nuances about how you can get from point A to point B. Okay, so always try to connect, stay on your fingertips, keep it smooth. Let's see if there's any other ones. Let's see, there's E. Let's do the key of E. To go from E to A, see how I'm just kind of rolling my fingers over? So what are your 3 chords in the key of E? You have your E, your A, and your B7. Okay. Now look at from E to B. We didn't cover B7, but that's an open chord too. I'll put that in the chart as well. So let me show you another quick way to connect your chords in the key of A. Say, for example, we go from A to the D. Okay, now what if at this point, instead of going back to the A, it goes to the E? Okay, again, instead of doing this, dive bomb, sometimes we have to dive bomb, okay? And you know what they say, if you dive bomb, you're gonna crash and burn. We try to connect them if we can, but look at this. So you go A, D. So now, do you see how we could connect this to the E chord? Here's an E chord here, okay? Now look at this. If you don't think this through, you'll miss it. See where my first finger is? See how I can go from D to E? And I can go back to A. Slide into your D here. Okay, so those are just cool little tidbits, that will really help your playing and help you learn so much faster if you just always bear that in mind. So that'll give you a lot to work on. Remember, you're always staying on your fingertips. You're looking for fingers that are anchored, that you can play off those to integrate those into the next chord. There's a lot more going on underneath the surface than you would realize. And now you can be aware too, if you see other people playing, watch if they're needlessly, jumping around on their fretboard. Until you've been made aware of this, you never notice it. Okay, so that's a great takeaway for you to be aware of on your guitar journey here. Okay, so let's just do a few progressions. We'll do like the C, A minor, F. Now here comes that G, so you're going to have to. Now again, going from G to C, that's a tough one. C to A minor is really easy. But now we have that F, okay? So we can do it like using the inside 4 like I showed you. Now if you wanted to, you could slide all this up. Now we're getting into more bar chord territory, but you definitely want to know this, and you could do the baby F. Let's say if you're really struggling with this. I'm just strumming down. I'm not doing anything fancy on the strumming. When you come to the F, there's your baby F, baby G7. You can do that for a while until you get the hang of it. Now, if I got to go back to C, what's the easiest way? Just get that back up there. Okay. So definitely practice that progression at some different speeds. Let's see. Let me do just one more quick one. So let's do G, D. Now here comes E minor. That's a dive bomb. And then we'll go back to G. This is in a lot of songs too. This is first one that comes to mind is rock me mama like a wagon wheel. Okay, but let's look at this. So we talked about how we can connect this D. Third finger's already where it needs to be. We're going to go to that D. The E minor, that's just purely a dive bomb. Now C, how would we go to C? The best way to do that is you can see where your fingers are right here. Okay, so I don't have any tones that I can connect, okay, because I have to change my finger. But if I hop this down, now I can get into that C. See, my first move is to get that second finger down. And then back to the G. We're going to get these two up here so I can grab that on my up strum. 1, 2. And you can strum along with me if you like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now see what I did there? 2, 3, 4, and Okay, so that's a good chord progression for you to work on. There's like a lot of songs that have that. Practice these songs at different speeds and different tempos. I would encourage you to play slow always first until you learn it perfectly. Let's say every time you go from the E minor to the C, you have a problem with that. You can play these chords. You got the D down, it's great. E minor is really good. And you can't get to that C or the G, okay? So instead of starting from the beginning and going all the way through and hitting that C chord and then getting all frustrated, isolate that one section. So you get your metronome out, do this slow. What tempo can you play this E minor to C at? So you set, get your metronome going. 2, 3, 4. And then once you can play it perfectly, once you have that down, say 60 beats a minute or whatever it may be, bump it up by 5 beats. 2, 3, 4. That's probably faster than 5 beats, but you get the idea, okay? And then you'll speed it up again, and then again and again, and eventually you'll speed that up till you almost fall apart, okay? But don't stop there. To make this really work is once you reach that point, don't stop there. Once you say you get it up to 160 beats a minute or something like that, you're really having a great day, right? What you will do then is start going backwards, slow it down and go all the way back to where you started. And that second part of the exercise is really important. So you got to make sure you go all the way up and all the way down. What might happen is you might go, okay, this is really boring. So instead of practicing the whole song, I had a half hour to practice. I spent a half hour practicing those 2 chords. But if you do that, you'll have that section of the song figured out and you are good to go when it occurs in any other song as well. Okay, so always do that. So same thing when you're going C to G. Slow that down, get your metronome, slowly speed it up, and it may take you 2 or 3 days, okay? But do that. Spend the time doing that. That's kind of the rolling up your sleeves and doing the hard work. And so that will really help you develop your skills and get those chord changes. And I've learned like a lot of really fast songs like that. Okay, so the other thing is practice a little bit each day. At least try to get in 20 minutes, if not more. The reason we say 20 minutes is because hopefully you'll start practicing and maybe get stuck in a time warp and you might practice for an hour. Okay, so you got to keep at it. Even if you're having a bad day, try not to practice when you're tired though. Practice when you're fresh. You have the most fun that way. If you haven't seen my other beginner lessons, love to invite you to go see those. I'm putting them in sequence, but this will be a whole number sequence where each song I will show you how to connect the chords, and I'll show you the relative minors to the keys and all that good stuff. I would really appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe, and definitely leave some comments. Let me know if there's any other chord progressions you would like to try to connect. So that always makes it fun too. So I hope you found this helpful, and good luck on your guitar journey. I'm glad you're tuning into my channel, and I hope I can help you out with your guitar playing. So thank you so much, and we will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.